Welcome to the deep dive. You're here because, well, you want to get smart, fast on what matters.
Hmm.
We cut through the noise. Today, we're diving into something central to business market research,
Right.
but we're taking a different angle, not what it does tell you, but what it can't.
Which is often the more interesting part, isn't it?
Right.
We see the reports, the data. It gives us something, sure, valuable sometimes,
Yeah.
but understanding the limitations, the blind spots,
Yeah.
that's crucial for getting the real picture.
Yeah.
The sources you shared, they really dig into these gaps.
Exactly. So our mission today isn't about, saying market research is useless. Far from it.
No, absolutely not.
It's about understanding its boundaries. Like, it gives you points on a map, but we need to know about the uncharted bits.
Okay.
Okay, so first big one, emotions. The feelings behind why we buy stuff.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Traditional research, it's often so rational, so focused on the numbers,
Mhm.
but it can really overlook the messiness of human feelings. The data shows what people bought, maybe which feature they clicked on.
But not the why.
Exactly. Not
Yeah.
that gut feeling or the emotional connection, those things that really drive choices.
Right. The source material had a good example. Sales for a brand suddenly spike.
Uh,
Research tells you that happened, but why? Was it real brand love? Or just like everyone else was buying it? Peer pressure.
or some fleeting cultural trend.
Yeah. And figuring out that why is so important for building loyalty that actually sticks. Standard tools. They often just kind of scratch the surface there.
And that emotional undercurrent, that's really the bedrock of how people see a brand, isn't it?
Totally.
You can analyze price points, features, specs all day long. But if you miss what the brand means to people emotionally,
You're missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
a potentially decisive piece, yeah.
Okay, so understanding current feelings is one gap. What about predicting what's next? Everyone wants a crystal ball, right?
Ah, yeah, if only. And that's a really fundamental challenge, using past data to reliably predict future market shifts.
It struggles with that.
Well, it's great at spotting trends that are already, established, patterns in behavior.
Okay.
But predicting those sharp turns, sudden changes in taste, big tech leaps, global stuff hitting the fan, that's where it gets much less reliable.
The sources mention things like the quick rise of EVs, electric vehicles.
Right, or the massive boom in online shopping during the pandemic.
Yeah. Market research didn't really see those coming full steam until they were basically already happening, did it?
Pretty much playing catch up. It's
Right.
like trying to drive forward by only looking in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
See where you've been clearly.
But not the curve ahead.
Exactly. And businesses that lean too heavily on just that historical data, they risk getting caught completely off guard.
By what kinds of things?
Oh, anything. Big global events, obviously, but also disruptive tech or just, fundamental shifts in what people value as a society. They might miss huge opportunities or react way too slowly when things change.
So the data is like yesterday's weather forecast. Helpful, maybe, but don't bet the farm on it for tomorrow. Okay, let's talk about the data itself. Even the data we do get. How good is it, really?
That's a really critical point
Mm-hmm.
because even with all the ways we gather data now,
Mm.
surveys, analytics, everything, the picture can still be, well, incomplete or even skewed.
Skewed how? Like, not accurate.
Well, often the issue is the sample,
Mm-hmm.
the group of people you actually get data from. It might be too small or just
Yeah.
not representative.
Meaning?
Meaning it doesn't really reflect the full diversity of the people you're trying to understand. Like, say you only survey people who already buy your product.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You're getting their opinion, sure.
Yeah.
What about people who don't buy it? Potential
Yeah.
customers,
Yeah.
people choosing your competitors. You're missing their whole perspective.
Right, it's like asking only your friends if they like your new haircut. You're probably going to get positive feedback.
Exactly. And the source mentioned, even when companies try using multiple channels, email surveys, website pop-ups, social media polls,
Mhm.
it's still a challenge to make sure the people who actually respond truly represent the whole range of consumers out there.
Yeah.
So if your data collection is limited in scope,
Your decisions might be based on a flawed picture.
could be, yeah,
Mhm.
leading to strategies that aren't quite right for the broader market.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've got limits on emotions, predicting the future, the data itself, which leads right into this idea the sources kept bringing up, the missing why.
Ah, yes. The why. It's such a key distinction. Quantitative research, that's your numbers, your surveys, analytics.
Buts.
Exactly. The
Mm.
what. What are people doing? Which features are popular? How many units sold? It gives you valuable metrics.
Yeah.
But it often stops short of explaining the reasons, the fundamental drivers behind those actions.
So you might know feature X is preferred by, say, 60% of users.
Right.
But the numbers don't tell you why they prefer it. What need does it fill for them? What problem is it solving? Is it just easier to use? Or something deeper?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And understanding that why is just, well, it's absolutely vital,
Yeah.
especially for innovation, for product development, for crafting marketing that actually connects.
Without it, you're guessing?
You're making educated guesses, maybe,
Hmm.
but you don't have that deep insight into the core motivations.
Okay, so if the numbers don't give us the why, how do we find it? This must be where qualitative research fits in.
Exactly right. Qualitative methods, things like in-depth interviews, running focus groups,
Talking to people.
talking to people, and even observing them, like ethnography, seeing how they use products in their actual lives. These approaches are designed specifically to get at those nuances, attitudes, preferences, and, yeah, the underlying
So it
motivation.
gives you a richer picture.
Much richer, more textured. You understand the mindset, not just the action.
So, like, instead of just knowing people buy fancy bread,
Uh-huh.
a focus group might tell you they buy it because it makes them feel connected to their community, or it aligns with their values about local sourcing, or maybe it just reminds them of their childhood. Things numbers won't show.
Perfect example. Qualitative data fills in those blanks left by the quantitative stuff. It helps uncover those emotional drivers, the psychological factors we talked about earlier.
How so?
Well, a good interview, for instance, can really explore why someone feels loyal to a brand.
Hmm.
What emotional need does it meet? What aspirations does it tap into? What are their unmet desires that maybe your product could address?
Wow. Yeah, that sounds incredibly useful for anyone trying to actually, resonate with people.
Oh, absolutely.
Ah.
Invaluable.
Mm.
For crafting marketing messages that really land, for tweaking product features so they genuinely solve problems or meet desires, it gives you that fuller, more human understanding.
So the best bet is probably using both kinds of research together, not either.
Precisely. That's the ideal, really.
Yep.
Integrating qualitative insights with quantitative data. That gives businesses the most comprehensive view.
How does that work in practice?
Well, your surveys and sales data tell you the what and how many. Then your qualitative research, the interviews, the focus groups, helps you understand the why behind those numbers.
Hmm.
The source had a great example. Maybe interviews reveal customers are really motivated by like a sense of belonging or social status associated with a product.
Something a multiple choice survey would probably miss.
Very likely, yeah.
Yeah.
But discovering that, it can lead to much smarter, much more targeted marketing campaigns.
That makes total sense. Okay, so we're getting a clearer picture of limitations around understanding now and the near-ish future. But what about the really long game, the long-term impact?
Yeah, that's another significant hurdle. Market research finds it tough to accurately gauge the long-term effects of pretty much anything.
It's good at the short term.
Generally, yes.
Right.
Measuring immediate changes, like you run a big ad campaign, you see a sales bump right away. Research can capture that initial impact pretty well. But predicting the lasting effects, that's much harder. That sales bump you saw, was it just temporary? Did the campaign actually build deeper brand loyalty? Or did it maybe even annoy some people long-term? Short-term data doesn't tell you that.
The source mentioned this too, right? That an ad might work now, but you don't know the long-term brand perception hit or boost.
Exactly. And it's not just your own marketing. Think about broader changes, societal trends, new tech rolling out, regulatory shifts. Predicting the long-term consequences of those is incredibly difficult, especially the factors outside a company's control.
So if traditional research struggles with that long view, what are companies supposed to do? Just guess.
Well, the suggestion is to move beyond just looking at the immediate data. It means adopting a more strategic, forward-looking mindset,
Like what?
using techniques like forecasting, scenario planning, trying to anticipate potential shifts over a longer horizon.
Scenario planning, like imagining different futures.
Kind of, yeah. Thinking through what-if scenarios. What if this trend accelerates?
Yeah.
What if this new regulation comes in? It's about acknowledging you can't perfectly predict the future based on the past and actively trying to envision a range of possibilities, trying to see through the fog, as you said earlier.
Which seems especially important when you consider the really big, unexpected stuff, the game changers.
Absolutely. And that's probably the biggest limitation we need to talk about. Market research, fundamentally, just cannot reliably forecast major disruptions.
Define disruptions here.
Those big, unforeseen events that can completely reshape markets. A sudden, deep recession. A truly radical technology nobody saw coming. A global crisis, like well, a pandemic.
Yeah, the sources brought up COVID again, the huge rapid shift to e-commerce, the move to remote work.
Things that standard market research just didn't predict beforehand, certainly not on their scale or speed.
Right.
And it's not just crises. Think about ongoing transformations. Electric vehicles are changing transport and energy. AI is evolving so fast.
We don't really know the full long-term impact yet.
Exactly. Their effects on consumer behavior, on business models. It's still unfolding. Traditional research methods struggle to keep pace with that level of uncertainty and predict the ultimate outcomes.
So if market research can't reliably flag these massive shifts, what can businesses actually do to be less vulnerable?
The key takeaway seems to be, don't rely only on market research for your future-proofing.
Okay.
Supplement it. Use strategic foresight, really trying to scan the horizon for weak signals. Use robust scenario planning, like we mentioned. And importantly, seek out diverse expert opinions. Talk to people outside your usual bubble.
Get different perspectives.
Yes, it helps companies think more broadly, consider futures that the data alone might not suggest. It builds adaptability, resilience for when the unexpected inevitably happens.
This has been really insightful. Before we wrap, there was that fast fact you mentioned.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's pretty telling. A 2023 Harvard Business Review report found that 70% of executives actually believe qualitative research.
The why stuff, the interviews and focus groups.
Exactly. They believe that provides more valuable insights than quantitative research when it comes to understanding long-term consumer behavior.
Wow, 70%. That really underlines the importance of getting beyond just the raw numbers for the bigger picture.
It certainly suggests a strong belief in the power of understanding those deeper motivations and contexts.
Okay, so let's quickly recap. Market research, super valuable tool, gives us data, but it has blind spots. It can struggle with the emotional side of decisions. Predicting future shifts is tough.
Right.
The data itself might be incomplete or not fully representative. It often misses that crucial why.
Yep. Motivations.
Predicting long-term impacts is tricky, and it definitely can't reliably forecast those huge unforeseen disruptions.
That sums it up well. It's not about throwing market research out.
No.
It's about being smart about it, knowing its strengths, but being acutely aware of its limitations, using it as one tool, one lens, but not the only one.
Absolutely. Know what it can do, and just as importantly, what it can't. Which leads us to our final thought for you listening. Considering all these limitations we've just explored, what else? What other information sources, what different methods might be truly essential for getting that deep understanding of your audience and figuring out where your field is actually heading? Something to chew on.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.